Hello, well, thank you everybody for joining us on another GrowSkills webinar. Today we are talking about the 30-minute meeting revolution. So it can be really difficult to manage your workload and your life and running a business and, actually having some fun, and getting dragged into meetings or holding really long meetings can take up a lot of time. And of course, you could be spending that time doing your own lovely marketing. So I'm Hannah. I am from Grow Traffic. I'm going to take you through kind of top tips for running efficient, quick meetings and why it's really important. Apologies if you hear my dog bark in the background. You'll be up. He is a naughty little dog. So I'm just going to share my screen and then we'll crack on. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that. And there's a little reminder, so I have pressed record. So there's different ways of thinking about meetings. Some people think that they're a waste of time, that they're really boring, that you could be doing better things when you're in meetings. Meetings aren't working. And there's a quote from megalomaniac, evil genius Elon Musk there saying, the meetings are what happens when people aren't working. And then on the other hand, you've got a quote from megalomaniac, evil genius Steve Jobs, saying that actually meetings are really important because you need that face-to-face contact. You need to look them in the eye, and as he says, scream at them. So his meetings sound pretty unpleasant. And I think most of us would kind of fall into the middle ground there. And I think as long as meetings are valuable, most of us would agree that actually they're not that bad, but it's making sure that they're valuable and it's not just talking and talking and talking. So the 30-minute meeting revolution, when Larry Page, all hail the glory that be Larry Page, took over as Google's CEO. He's obviously the co-founder of Google. When he took over as their CEO, he sent an email around to all staff saying meetings were changing and there were new rules. And it made it into the news because it was really revolutionary in a way to have short meetings, make sure that everyone was really present, but mainly that they were only to happen when there was a decision to be made, and the decisions weren't to wait for meetings. If you needed to make a decision, then you held a meeting immediately. No more than 8 participants were allowed to join. So at Amazon, they call that a 2 pizza rule. So they say no more, there should be no more participants than can be fed by 2 pizzas. So surely that's 2 people. So I think like the key that people are getting at here is don't have too many people in it. And we'll come to that in a minute. At Virgin, Richard Branson is infamous for having standing and walking meetings because it kind of focuses the mind. And anyone who's ever worked in tech or in a tech company will know that stand-ups are part of kind of project management there, and you literally stand up because it keeps the meeting short and focused, because if people can't get comfortable, then they're less likely to waffle on. Obviously that excludes quite a lot of people that aren't fully able-bodied. At Netflix, they end every meeting with what have we learned and what are we going to do, what are our next steps. At Apple, they have these really kind of roundabout, free-flowing meetings where there's no purpose to it, and it's just a creative exercise to allow creative juices to flow, ideas to be brought to the forefront. I guess it's a bit like a Quaker meeting where, you speak when you've got something worth saying, and otherwise you just sit and think, or it's just a lot of people dick swinging. But why is it important? Well, as I said at the beginning, like it's so dull sitting through meetings, and kind of in the spirit of practicing what I preach, I'm not going to labor this point particularly. There's a beautiful Dutch word down here that I'm also not going to pronounce so I don't butcher the Dutch language, but it means meeting sickness. And I just thought that was such a beautiful phrase. And the fact that they've actually got a term for it, that you're just sick of bloody meetings. And I think the frustrations that come out of it is that, firstly, half the time you never actually do any of the stuff that you talk about in your meetings anyway. And this goes for one-to-ones as well. I know a lot of people watching this will have one-to-one meetings with people that they meet at networking. And half the stuff that you come up with during these one-to-ones, you never do. Or maybe that's just me. Really long meetings. I mean, it's a well-known fact that humans can only concentrate for so long. It's like 20 minutes. And after that, most of us are checking out, or looking out the window, or, fiddling with our pens or whatever. So long meetings, what is the point? You're just not efficient. And how often have you sat in meetings thinking, this could have been an email, I have better things to do? Meetings to plan meetings are the absolute bane of existence, everybody's existence. Why? Why are we doing this? And they can be really dull, especially if you're sitting there thinking, I have better things to do. I'm not necessarily needed in this. I could have read these notes. I just thought this was a really cute infographic, just the leading irritants in meetings. And obviously, the most irritating thing that people do in meetings is typing text and responding to phone calls. This is an absolute bugbear of mine. Why are you even in the meeting if you're emailing or typing or whatever? But taking notes on laptops during meetings, come on, guys, chill. Someone needs to take notes. There's this quote by an American blogger, The Jackal, which I thought was just fabulous, that 90% of the time in today's corporate world, calling a meeting is an abuse of power. I just thought that was pretty cool, pretty spot on, really, because I think a lot of people do call meetings just to kind of pontificate and hold an open court. And, what is the point? It can be an email. Okay, so we're going to go back to good old Larry's rules here. And I'm going to give you top tips now to actually implement these rules and kind of explain why they're going to help you. So the first thing is every meeting needs a purpose and a structure. So Larry said every meeting needs a purpose. It's got to have, you've got to be making a decision. So, and for a lot of us, we're not working in massive companies where we've got hundreds of colleagues and we're going to call meetings just to shoot the shit with each other. But you are likely to be having one-to-ones. You're likely to be invited to meetings, just to sit in. So really think about it. What do I want out of this meeting? Why am I having this meeting? Do I want to just make a new connection? And if it is just to make a new connection, build a rapport, grow your network, that's a really valid reason. But that needs to be the kind of purpose of the meeting. If you want to get a contract signed, make sure that that's your goal, because otherwise you're going to get really frustrated. And if that's your goal, then structure the meeting around that. Sometimes you want to get a date for a presentation. You want people to commit to a sales presentation with you. And sometimes you just want to find out, who's the right person. Often we have meetings with people to find out who's your marketing manager. Can we speak to your marketing manager, please? And get the right information out of people. Often, or in my early days, I would fall into the trap of having meetings just to be polite or just to see what they were offering, especially if it was sales calls and people were trying to sell to me. Just to be polite or just to see if it's any good isn't a justifiable reason for having a meeting, in my opinion. You're probably watching this because you're strapped for time. So, it's not going to benefit your business. And ultimately, that's what you're here for. And if there's not a purpose to it, don't bloody agree to the meeting. So, what shall the structure of your meeting be? It's so lovely to go into a meeting, make a cup of coffee, have a nice chat, have a read of the documents that they've sent through, make sure that everyone's understood the documents, and then get a task force together to actually do something useful. No, that's useless. That's a waste of your time. Really trim the fat. Don't go into a meeting unless you're ready to get out of it what you want. So, yes, have a couple of minutes pleasantries, but make your brew before you go in. Make sure that you're circulating documents and reading them before the meeting and that any clarification questions have been asked. I sit on quite a few boards and we always get the meeting notes well in advance, and we're all expected to read them and ask clarifying questions via email beforehand, so that when we get in there, the meetings are just, this is what we're going to do, okay, do it. Or this is what we're going to do, we disagree and we want more information, go away and come back to us. That's the part where we all kind of come together. But having said that, watch out for cultural differences. So when I did quite a lot of business in Ireland, it's in the Republic, it's customary there to have kind of 5-10 minutes the beginning of a meeting, just asking about each other's family, talking about the news. Like you don't walk into a room and go straight into the nitty gritty. So there will be kind of cultural differences, and you just need to be aware of that if you're working with different cultures in overseas. What a meeting should be for, the structure of most of them should be probing assumptions that have been made and debating the possible decisions and making a decision. So even if it's, are we going to work together? How are we going to work together? That will be the decision that could be made, and the assumptions that you're probing. I am assuming that this is going to be a useful network contact for me to build. That's why I'm going to have the meeting. Is that assumption accurate? Yes, no, great. Point 2 is no more than 8 participants, but widely circulate the notes after. This is especially useful if you're having internal meetings. If you're in a meeting, you're not doing kind of day-to-day work. And the more people that are there, the more opportunity there is for the meeting to be delayed. Often we invite people to meetings because it will be seen as a slant, a kind of slight on them to not invite them. And I think we just need to really get rid of ego here. And just don't invite too many people to meetings. And I'm really guilty of this. I'll invite every man and his dog just because I know I don't trust people to read the notes. So make sure that notes are taken and circulated, and kind of give people time and opportunity to read them. Make sure everyone is fully present in the meeting. So even if you have to be the nasty one saying, can you please, are you texting? And give people the courtesy of doing the same to you. This includes phones. There's no such thing as multitasking. You can't do 2 things 100% well. 74% of people apparently multitask when they're muted on calls and Zooms. So 74% of people are not paying attention, and we are all guilty of that. But what's the point of being in a meeting if you're going to multitask? If that's the sort of meeting that that you regularly check your emails in, or eat your lunch or whatever, or check your personal emails, then why are you going to it? Adhering to time constraints is really important. I chair a lot of meetings, and I pride myself on keeping the meeting on track and making sure that we finish on time, if not early. It seems to be a kind of badge of honor to have a longer meeting, or that the longer you talk, the more important you all are, or the more important your meeting is, or the more efficient you've been. And it's just not true. You've got to be clear. You've got to have a really clear structure, a really clear agenda. Keep it succinct. Make sure everybody's had plenty of time to read the notes, and have a defined purpose that everybody is aware of. And usually that will come on the agenda. So we're going to sign off this, or we're going to look at this, or we need to make a decision on that. It's not okay to let meetings creep over time. And 30-minute meetings, 30 minutes is ample time to either set an agenda for if you're kind of having a networking session, it's a one-to-one, and you want to decide that you're going to go off and do some activity and then come back together. That's ample time. If you want to feedback information and make a decision based on that, as long as people have had the information in the meantime, it's ample time. And then don't wait to have a meeting to make a decision. Call a meeting straight away and make a decision. Otherwise, how important can it really be? And I think if you use this, then it really focuses the mind. If you know that you want to get a contract signed, then you're going to go to that meeting with a contract, and kind of really push that a meeting happens as quickly as possible, rather than kind of bringing it out for 3 weeks. And then this is especially useful for internally. Every meeting needs a decider, needs one person to take responsibility. It doesn't have to be the boss, it doesn't have to be the manager, it can be the person. It can be anybody. Just arbitrarily pick one, because you're going to be presenting arguments to and for all the different elements of the decision that you've got to make, and just one person has to make that decision. And the reason for that is it takes away all that talking around and you know, voting and things like that. Just have one person that makes the decision and things will be a lot quicker because you don't have to get consensus. Okay, so 5 top practical tips. Just checking then that there were 5 because I wasn't sure. Firstly, you're only going to do this if you get everyone on board. If you start saying to people, I'm going to have, let's have a 30-minute one-to-one and I want to get out of it this, and this. What do you want to get out of it? Assign a chair or act as chair yourself. Chairs are really important to keep time. So even if you're having a one-to-one with somebody, make sure that you assign yourself as the chair so that you're keeping tabs on time and you each speak for kind of 15 minutes or you each speak for 10 minutes and you've got a proper schedule, a proper agenda for that item. Okay, we're going to do, you could say, right, we're going to do pleasantries for 2 minutes, then I'm going to talk for 5 minutes, then they're going to talk for 5 minutes, then we're going to do like next steps for 5 minutes, and then we're going to see if there's a way that we can work together. And make sure that you do dedicate 5 minutes at the end to kind of rounding up and going over the next steps so that everybody leaves that meeting with a clear purpose and a clear idea of what's just happened. I know a lot of people who really struggle in meetings to keep up to date and need time afterwards to think about it, especially if people are neurodiverse. Then having that 5 minutes to just really explicitly say, this is what we've decided, this is what's going to happen next, can help people kind of keep a thread on it. Make sure that you actually do schedule time in to prepare, especially if you're attending a meeting where there are minutes and notes and reports that you need to read. Schedule time in kind of half an hour beforehand or the day before just to prepare and make sure that you've read the notes and you've come back with any questions. And then reflect and assess. Obviously, this is our one always. Has it been a decent meeting? Was it worthwhile having? How could we have made it better? What decisions were made? Were they the right decisions? And that's it. So, in the spirit of the of the topic, I'm going to leave it there. So, thank you very much for joining and for watching. I hope it's been useful. Next month, we've got another GrowSkills webinar, so have a look on the Eventbrite page to check out what that is. Or you can get in touch with us through the Facebook group or obviously info@growtraffic.co.uk. And thank you very much for watching and see you soon. Bye.